What happens when a man spends 2 decades on death row only to face justice once again? Today, we're diving into a case that has captivated the nation and left many questioning the very foundations of our legal system. Welcome to the Real Crime Diary Daily Dose of Crime. I'm your host, MHB, and the story we're about to unfold is one that spans over 2 decades. It involves a death row inmate, multiple murders, and a controversial retrial that has sent shockwaves through the criminal justice community. This isn't just another true crime story. It's a tale of perseverance, alleged injustice, and the relentless pursuit of truth. So buckle up, listeners. We're about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about crime and punishment in America. Picture this. It's 2001, and a 17-year-old Clinton Lee Young is about to become entangled in a web of violence that will shape the next 2 decades of his life. The victims? Doyle Douglas, 41, from Ore City, and Samuel Petrie, 52, from Eastland. 2 men, 2 lives, both brutally cut short. The motive? As mundane as it was shocking. Young and his accomplices allegedly wanted to steal their vehicles. It's a crime that leaves us questioning the value we place on human life. But here's where it gets complicated. Young wasn't alone. 3 co-defendants were also implicated in these murders. In a twist that would become crucial to Young's case, these accomplices struck deals. They testified against Young in exchange for lighter sentences. Fast forward to 2003. A Midland County jury finds Young guilty. The sentence? Death. At just 19 years old, Clinton Lee Young is condemned to die for these brutal crimes. But even as the gavel fell, questions lingered. Young has consistently maintained his innocence, claiming he was framed by his co-defendants. Their testimony, he argues, was false, a desperate attempt to save their own skins. It's a case that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our justice system. How reliable is testimony given in exchange for leniency? Can we trust a conviction based largely on such evidence? These are the questions that would haunt this case for years to come. Imagine spending 2 decades in a small cell isolated from human contact with the looming specter of death hanging over you. This was the reality for Clinton Young, who spent nearly 20 years on death row in solitary confinement. The psychological toll of such an experience is almost unimaginable. In Young's own words, "I was on death row for a crime that I didn't commit. I had no physical contact with my friends or family. I was in solitary confinement for over 20 years, facing death." The isolation, the constant fear, and the knowledge that your life could end at any moment. These are the daily realities for death row inmates. Yet, throughout this ordeal, Young maintained his innocence. Despite the crushing weight of his situation, he never wavered in his claim that he was wrongfully convicted. This unwavering stance, maintained over 2 decades, raises important questions about the nature of our justice system and the possibility of wrongful convictions. The impact of long-term solitary confinement is well documented. It can lead to severe psychological issues, including depression, anxiety, and even hallucinations. For Young, this was compounded by the constant threat of execution. How does one maintain sanity, let alone hope, under such circumstances? After nearly 2 decades on death row, Clinton Young's case took a dramatic turn. In September 2021, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned his conviction and death sentence. The reason? Egregious prosecutorial misconduct. But what exactly does that mean? It turns out that the prosecutor in Young's original trial had been secretly working as a law clerk for the judges presiding over the case. This continued even during the appeals and post-conviction phase. This shocking revelation meant that Young had been denied his constitutional right to a fair trial and an impartial judge. The implications of this decision are far-reaching. It raises serious questions about the integrity of the justice system. How could such a blatant conflict of interest go unnoticed for so long? And how many other cases might be tainted by similar misconduct? This overturned conviction also highlights the importance of transparency in legal proceedings. It serves as a stark reminder that even after a conviction, the pursuit of justice doesn't end. Sometimes it's just beginning. For Young, this decision offered a glimmer of hope after years of maintaining his innocence. It opened the door for a new trial, a chance to present his case again, this time without the shadow of misconduct looming over the proceedings. After spending nearly 2 decades behind bars, Clinton Young found himself back in a Midland County courtroom in 2023, facing a jury once again. The air was thick with tension as the retrial began, with both the prosecution and defense presenting their cases. Key witnesses were called to the stand, including Young's former co-defendants. Their testimony, once the cornerstone of Young's original conviction, was now under intense scrutiny. The defense team worked tirelessly to poke holes in their statements, highlighting inconsistencies and potential motives for false testimony. As the trial progressed, new evidence was presented and old evidence re-examined. Forensic experts offered their insights, and character witnesses spoke to Young's behavior during his time on death row and his brief period of freedom. Throughout the proceedings, Young maintained his innocence, his eyes fixed on the jury as he testified in his own defense. He recounted the events of 2001, offering his version of what transpired on those fateful days. After weeks of testimony and arguments, the case was handed over to the jury. The courtroom fell silent as they deliberated, the weight of Young's fate hanging in the balance. Then, on October 15th, the verdict was announced. In a shocking turn of events, Clinton Young was once again found guilty of capital murder. The jury's decision sent shockwaves through the courtroom and beyond, leaving Young's supporters in disbelief. The verdict in Clinton Young's case has sent shockwaves through his support network. Thousands of followers who have closely monitored his case for years are struggling to come to terms with the outcome. The announcement of his conviction and life sentence was met with a mix of disbelief, anger, and profound sadness. Young's family and friends took to social media to express their dismay, stating that they believe this to be an unjust outcome. The reaction underscores the deep emotional investment many have made in Young's case, viewing him as a symbol of potential wrongful conviction. In response to the verdict, Young's legal team has already announced plans to appeal the decision. This move signals that the fight for what they perceive as justice is far from over. The grounds for this appeal and its potential timeline will be closely watched by supporters and legal experts alike. This case raises broader questions about the criminal justice system. It highlights issues such as the reliability of co-defendant testimony, the impact of prosecutorial misconduct, and the challenges of retrying cases after significant time has passed. The fact that Young was convicted again, despite the overturning of his original conviction, adds another layer of complexity to these discussions. As the dust settles on this latest chapter, many are left wondering about the long-term implications. Will this case lead to any systemic changes? How might it affect future cases involving overturned convictions? The answers to these questions remain to be seen, but one thing is certain. Clinton Young's case will continue to be a talking point in discussions about criminal justice reform for years to come. As we wrap up this gripping tale of justice, injustice, and perseverance, we're left with many questions. Could this case have been handled differently? What does it say about our justice system? The story of Clinton Young serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and flaws within our legal processes. It challenges us to think critically about the nature of truth, the weight of evidence, and the impact of time on justice. As we ponder these questions, we're reminded of the importance of vigilance and the ongoing need for reform in our criminal justice system. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Real Crime Diary. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning. Power, Pleasure, and Pain. A study of abuse through time. This book provides a detailed examination of how sexual violence and power dynamics have manifested across different historical periods, from ancient civilizations to the modern era. It explores how figures in positions of power used their influence to manipulate and exploit others, showing that the patterns of abuse we see today have deep historical roots. Many people struggle to grasp why abuse of power, particularly sexual violence, persists in modern society. By connecting historical events with contemporary cases, the book offers crucial insights into why such behaviors remain prevalent. The book analyzes infamous cases such as those of Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, and Dominique Pellicotte, drawing parallels between them and historical figures. This section highlights how the systemic abuse seen in recent times is not a new phenomenon, but part of an ongoing cultural issue. Through the lens of these modern examples, readers will gain a better understanding of how institutions, wealth, and power have historically shielded perpetrators from justice, contributing to their ability to continue harming others. The book explores the philosophy of libertarianism, particularly through the works of Marquis de Sade, to explain the disturbing ways in which pleasure, power, and cruelty have been intertwined. This provides readers with a deeper philosophical context to interpret modern-day scandals. Unlike other studies that focus solely on historical or contemporary cases, this book uniquely blends both, offering a full spectrum of how abuse is tied to power dynamics. It stands out by making philosophical connections that help readers understand the deeper societal issues at play.